Hey Radiant Souls, welcome back to my channel if you're new here. My name's Heather. I'm an intuitive counselor, author, artist, animal communicator, and coach, and I'm on a mission to empower and embolden others to connect with their divine radiant light. So I wanted to share a little bit today about my art because I don't do that often here on this channel. I do it in interviews and in other places, but I felt called to put something here today. So before we get into that, why I want to share it. It's not about me doing the art. It's about you witnessing the community that you're in. So if you're here on this video watching this, you're part of a larger community of people interested in topics like this, in spirituality, in personal growth, in development, in ascension, in expansion, up-leveling, however you want to classify it for yourself. And what I want to convey, or what I hope to convey here today, is that we need to celebrate how many of us are hearing the call, how many of us are coming to these topics with the excitement and the attention and intention to develop within ourselves those abilities that will take us into a new way of being in the world. So research shows that when enough people share the same level of consciousness, a collective network of observers determines a reality. So that's us. We're the collective network of observers. I can't say it. Collective network of observers who are passionately coming to these topics and this level of growth and expansion for ourselves. So the more we observe it, the more we put it into place for ourselves. You know, the saying used to be, or the one we're familiar with hearing, is seeing is believing, but it's actually the opposite. Believing is seeing. So the more we hold that belief in that future version of the world that we want, the more we are laying the groundwork and mapping it out so that it actually happens. And I talk about this on occasion in some of my classes and I think some other interviews. But for me, the image I always like to keep in mind is about a butterfly. And I usually say monarch butterflies because I have a specific history with raising those a couple of times in the past few years. And, you know, we always think of, oh, I'm a butterfly coming out of my shell or out of the chrysalis. But what we don't often remember is that the butterfly, as it starts as a caterpillar, already has the cells, it already has the ingredients to become the butterfly. And they're actually in a butterfly, they're called imaginal discs, I think, imaginal cells, something like that. And when a butterfly goes into, or when a caterpillar goes into its chrysalis, it essentially dissolves into goo. It's not like it's mapped out that this one left flank of the caterpillar matches the wing or whatever. It completely kind of disintegrates and dissolves and builds from the smallest imaginal cell, imaginal disc, that map or blueprint of what it wants to be in the world. So I want us to think of ourselves in that way too. You don't always have to have a keen awareness of the exact answer or the exact path or what's next for me. Your soul already holds that ingredient. It already holds that imaginal cell, that imaginal disc for you to become. You just need to go through the process of the becoming. And that change can feel a little disruptive, but it can also feel empowering when you know that as you surrender to that change, it is part of your growth and part of your path. So let's look at some of the art. And if you're absolutely new here, you've never heard of me talk about my art or anything like that, one of the things that I work with people all over the world with is soul art, basically. It is a channeled representation of your soul. So about 4 years ago now, I kept receiving nudges from my team of guides about getting back into art and doing something creative. And I, as a kid, loved to doodle, loved my Spirograph toy, loved to color, loved calligraphy, loved shape and color and all of those things. And used to sketch and draw. And in college, I took some art classes, but I never really did anything with it outside of photography. I did photography for a while. And that's absolutely very creative. But as far as pen to paper, pencil to paper, didn't really do anything other than mess around every once in a while. And I felt this deep calling. I didn't understand it. Kind of like the caterpillar to the butterfly. I had no idea what was on the other side of this. I just had this urge to play around with art. And the more I started to play with different types of art, I started having dreams of these geometric symbols and these colors, and they got more and more complex and more vibrant. And every night I would just see rapid fire, like these shapes morphing and everything moving, and I had no idea what it was. It was beautiful, but I had no idea how that was relevant to me, other than it was really cool to witness. Eventually, I started understanding from my team of guides that I was being nudged or guided to create or channel. I don't create it, I channel those shapes and those colors as they relate to an individual. So soon after I started dreaming about them, those same shapes and colors and patterns started appearing kind of as overlays or filters on people in my day-to-day life. So I remember once answering the door for a delivery driver, thinking I would say, "Oh, thanks very much, drive safely," or whatever. And instead of his head and his face, I saw his geometry. So the more I started seeing this happen, the more I understood I'm supposed to do something with this. I'm supposed to take this and somehow put it into some shape or form. So I started practicing with friends and would just sit in a channeled state, working in a digital art application, let whatever needed to come through for that person. And I would go to a small group of friends with, 5 or 6 of these paintings, these digital paintings, and say, what do you get from this? What does this mean for you? And without me saying this is representative of you as a soul or as a person, they would kind of say, well, that one feels like this person, or that one feels like me. So somehow they saw something resonant with themselves in these. So I've been doing these now for over 4 years, and absolutely am always, with every single one, astounded and amazed at the beauty of, not the art, but the beauty of the individuals coming through in the art. So that's all of you. Anyone who has worked with me in that capacity, that is you. And I want to share some of those examples so that you can see if you can feel into the resonance, not reading it specifically as, well, that's Joe from Montana or whatever. See if you can feel into the hopes, the dreams, the aspirations, the inspiration, the resonance and the frequency of these beautiful people. And I want to share some of them now. When you zoom in on these, like, they're beautiful to look at from this perspective, but when you go deeper and when you expand and when you really zoom in, there is a lot more intricate detail. There are different brush strokes and textures and light attributes that you can see within the art. And we can see just the feeling. I just want you to get a feeling. Don't try to analyze them. Come from this space of witnessing, that's somebody's energetic presentation that they share with the world right now. So just beautiful, unique lines and shapes and all the different colors, all the different representations of light. You can see lines of light, you can see grids of light. Sometimes we see things that look like bubbles or circles. And each of these is an amazing, radiant, beautiful soul in the world doing what they do. Same as all of us, perhaps same as you watching, just trying to be their best and highest version of themselves, learning new things, unlocking new abilities, remembering new abilities in a lot of cases, exploring things in spirituality. And I just wanted to share that here today because I don't do that very often on this channel. So the other thing I wanted to bring through today is a little bit of a channeled message from my team of guides as well, who wanted to talk about using your voice in the world and kind of where we are right now in May 2024 as it relates to using your voice and being who you are in the world. So let's check in with them, and I'll come back after the channeling and tie it all back together and send you on your merry way for the day. Enjoy. Hello, bright and beautiful beings. We would speak to you at this time about the importance of using your voice and bringing clarity and awareness to the words that you speak, primarily to yourself, but also to others. So at this time in your evolution as a species and on this planet, there is opportunity to sow the seeds of your future. And often you look around. Who are the leaders? Who will bring forward this new world? What event is going to transpire that ushers something in? And we would say it is micro events. All of you are leaders, and you must lead yourselves first. And we ask or recommend that you would do that self-leadership with a fierce compassion that many of you may not have felt a need to cultivate until this time. So as you look in your mirrors, as you look upon yourself in reflection, internally or externally, what words come to mind when you think of yourself? Are they kind? Are they valid? Are they encouraging? Many of you may think it is indulgent to speak words of kindness to yourself, or it may be something you feel you don't have time for, but we would say it is crucial at this time that you recognize the light within your own soul. For if you do not recognize the light within your own soul, you cannot recognize it in someone else. So for those things that you would shun within yourself, for those things that are embarrassing, for those things that you judge within yourself, for those things that you may regret, speak loving words to those aspects of yourself and allow them to change their frequency, change their chemistry within your body, for it is you who changes the world in the way in which you change yourselves. Some of you may feel that you do this work and you may classify it as shadow work, which is a very important sounding phrase for what we would call daily maintenance and reflection upon self. But some of you may feel that you do this quite frequently, and I have already addressed all of the things that I feel I need at this time. We would say check in daily. If you are experiencing frustration, if you are experiencing impatience, if you are experiencing anger, if you are experiencing hurt, loss, look within and see what aspect of you is singing that same tune for yourself. For that is why you may find it in the external world, because it still exists within you. Do not judge that it exists within you. Celebrate that this is an opportunity for me to change, to alchemize, to shift that within myself. And as you do that, you come into harmony, you come into resonance with the higher interpretation of that, the highest and best good for all. So even taking a few moments to speak affirmations to yourself, not even externally. For some of you, prefer to bypass it and say, I will put the vocalization of an affirmation, I will speak it out loud, and then internally you are still judging, you are still criticizing, you are still speaking poorly of yourselves. So ensure that it is both your external representation of your voice and your internal representation of your voice, meaning your thoughts, and work to get those aligned to your highest and best good. We hope that you found this helpful. We look forward to connecting with you again when we speak again soon. Be blessed. Okay, so if you're here, you likely know affirmations are a big deal with me. So it's interesting to hear the guide speak about that as well. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of us. Not necessarily feeling that we are shortchanging our own growth, because I don't think that was part of the message either. We don't want to spiritually bypass. So saying an affirmation doesn't necessarily, kind of erase or overwrite the work that we still need to do, but it may highlight the ways in which we can wrestle with our own thoughts, the ways in which we can say, hey, no, I don't believe that. That's a label that was put upon me. That's a box I was put in. That's a judgment that somebody else's. I don't even believe it. Because sometimes that's where we get our internal monologue, is from someone else. So doing that kind of work can be just beautiful. It can be a little brutal as well. But having tenderness and gentleness with yourself as you approach it can be very helpful. So words of affirmation to yourselves, words of kindness for yourself and others. That's going to wrap up what I have for this week. Thank you for showing up in the ways that you do, both here to watch. It means a lot in the comments. I love that as well. Through these beautiful portraits that we looked at. It's interesting observing so many people in this way over the last few years. I definitely have the awareness or the perspective that we are amassing. There is such a growth and such a convergence of these beautiful frequencies, of these beautiful souls. We are all able to hold a note of a higher frequency much easier now, because there are so many coming to these topics and to this awareness. So thank you for showing up in the way that you do and for shining the beautiful light that you do in the world. I appreciate you so very much, and I'll see you next time.